Hi, guys, and welcome back to another episode of The Kevin Moore Show. Now, on today's show, I'm about to be joined by my guest, Virginia Warren. Now, Virginia is based in Australia, and she'll share her experiences as a lawyer and conflict alchemist. Now, Virginia has discovered that the legal system underpinning the governance of our world is flawed, and that the laws we have created are fear based, which not only means that humanity is governed by fear, but at a core level, our legal system's purpose contradicts the universal law of oneness. In truth, which says that fear based conflicts cannot be resolved with a fear based system. As a result, she has co created an organization called Lawyers for Love. Virginia Warren, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Kevin. I love your show, so thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you for reaching out. Now, when you reached out to me last, or the first time, shall I say, because we've spoken off air before, this is a really interesting concept. I've got to say that. Let me just get straight into the concept, or what you would say maybe is the most important message, and we'll sort of backtrack from there.
The most important message I want to bring across right now is that we need to shift the way people are seeing life. Right now, I guess, and particularly in America, we're seeing this, that people are fighting. And if we keep fighting, there's no resolution to that. So what I'm saying is that if we start looking at everything from the perspective that I am right in what I see, and you are right in what you see, that's the very beginning of diffusing negative energy between you and I if we're fighting. So I suspect that that is probably the best place I could start this conversation. Most people can't see the other person's perspective at all. They say, I am right and you are wrong. And of course, that's what the legal profession is based, or the legal system is based upon. I am right and you are wrong. I want to win, you need to lose. I need to be validated. I need to say that, yeah, I'll put you down so that I can raise myself up.
Okay, so what are you a practicing lawyer in?
I practice in general practice, and there's been a lot of family law, a lot of estate law, and that's really where most humans get together to air their dirty underwear, if you like. Most conflict happens in those spaces. I do a little bit in the criminal law space, but not a great deal. A great deal where I'm called for in that. I also do commercial law and things. I'm a general practitioner, but I've had quite a lot of experience in particularly family law, where emotions run high, and people want to blame somebody for the way they feel. You made me angry, you made me upset, you've ruined my life, you took my money, all of these things that happen. Life is built on relationship. People are in relationship to one another, and of course we can't see who we are in that relationship. We're looking at the other person.
So, Lawyers for Love, if you were just to sort of give us a pitch for what that's about.
Basically, we are a concept firm saying that we're going to look at your legal problem from the perspective that everyone is right. And when you look at it from that point of view, yes, you are looking at it from, there is another person in my game, but they are there as a reflection of what I am going through, of what I need to know about me right now. So if we start, that's where we're starting from. Everyone is right.
Do you want to continue there?
I was just going to say, Lawyers for Love are based, if you want to go deeper in that, it's because law is based, the reason that Lawyers for Love came to be, and I don't know whether you want my backstory on that, or why I got into this, whether that's helpful, but probably from the at the foundation of it, I had this situation where I found that I got into yoga by accident, although I'll say there's no accidents in life. And from that point of view, I tried to reconcile. I did a diploma in yoga teaching and got into the philosophy of yoga, and discovered the word ahimsa, which meant non-harm. And that I found really difficult to reconcile with legal practice. How was I going to bring that back in and practice law, non-harm? And it came to me that law is based in fear. And this is what many people on the planet right now don't realize. We're talking all sorts of other things, politics and everything else that is wrong, and how we're going to be spiritually, more positive and loving. But they don't realize everything you do is underpinned by fear. The laws that govern the planet have fear-based premises to them. Every law is saying, if you do this wrong, I will punish you. Every contract that you enter into with somebody says me versus you. If you don't do what you said you would, and now you have to look at a point in the future and say, oh yeah, 5 years down the track, you and I are going to still be doing that. Like marriage, we are going to still be these same people, we're going to do the same thing. And how do you know that? You don't know that. So these contracts are structures, and they're locking you in, and they're punishing you if you cannot fulfill what you promised you would in the start. So all of our law, everything that governs human relationship here is based in law, and on this planet, it's based in fear. So that's what the energy is running the planet right now. So Lawyers for Love saw that and thought, whoa, that's pretty powerful stuff. Nobody realizes it yet. So how can we change that? Well, we started with a little phrase called, it's a funny thing because lawyers talk with time. Time is of the essence. If you don't fulfill something in your contract by a certain time, you'll be punished. We thought, wouldn't it be funny if love was of the essence? So that means very simply that if you thought about, made a loving choice every time you had to in a contract, that would change everything. But of course, we have this problem here in law. Nobody knows what love is, or they don't want to talk about it. I don't think love is mentioned anywhere in any law ever, because it's the scariest word to humans. And I think that's a fundamental thing about humanity is we are here to learn what love is. So of course it's going to be difficult for everybody to conceptualize love. To help the ego mind, Lawyers for Love have said, we'll call love a state of being without fear. So to check in every time you're going to make a decision, have I got any fears around this? Is there an agenda? Do I want to take someone's power? Or am I just generally doing this from this now moment for the highest good of all? So that's how Lawyers for Love came to be, with that whole concept of love as of the essence. And then we realized that we're seeing things, this is all perspective. And of course, your perspectives are created when you're young. And if we all understood that, if we were all able to understand that, hey, you've got a different perspective than I have. I like pineapple, you mightn't like pineapple, and that's okay. But we're still fighting with each other and saying, no, you've got to like pineapple because it's great. But that's their perspective, and it's true for them. So we'll go on and move through our lives having compassion for the other person, saying, oh, I see your perspective, I see it. And this is even, in crime and all those sorts of things. We are rejecting people because we're rejecting parts of ourselves. Lawyers for Love like to call these our perspectives are built by our internal legal systems, these legal systems that were created when we were young, these rules that we've created. And now what humanity's done as a society, it's a collective consciousness that's projected our internal legal systems externally to create the legal system we know now. But the trouble with that is we call it legal fetishism. It's controlling us. So we can't go anywhere now without our parent. We grew up with the parental rules, and now we're going out into society still looking for a parent. We're not growing up. We need a self-guidance system, because effectively we are all love. And this is, I'm saying this now, that unless you've been living under a rock, we are energy, and people just need to get used to that idea. It's as simple as that. So we're based in love, and like the sun, the clouds float by as like the rules, the negative beliefs, all those things, and we clear them. But behind all that, we are still love. But the legal system doesn't see us as who we are. So it's trying to guide humanity based on some structure. You can't put a structure around flow, around love. It can't be done. That's why That's why we are seeing what we're seeing out in society now, because of our belief systems.
So, is your Lawyers for Love practice up and running now? And is that running alongside your normal sort of day job as a lawyer?
Yes, well, it is, because when we bring somebody in from this space and they want to have a different experience with their legal conflict. Now, I don't litigate, but what I do is I then take a person in and say, okay, so you have a legal conflict. The other party in that has been as your mirror, is the perfect person for you. You attracted them in. They're helping you find something about yourself, the rules you've created. So when you're now in, they'll use a traditional lawyer perhaps, because I see this as a transition. We are moving to a new dimension, a dimension based in love. But of course, we need a transitional period, don't we? We need to move from smoking to non-smoking until all venues are non-smoking. And that would be the norm compared to the other way. But in the meantime, this is what we're doing. So we're using the legal system as a catalyst to help you find the rules you've created for yourself. Because when you can't see them yourself, they're unconscious. Your unconscious legal system is your judge, jury, and executioner. It's your police officer. It's putting you in jail all the time, giving you guilt and shame. So we're helping you find those so that you can free yourself and expand your consciousness.
Okay, and we'll go into depth into some of this stuff as well, right? Or we'll maybe pick some of the stuff that you've said there and just talk about it a bit more. How have people received that? If that is up and running now, those who would never consider this stuff, are they working with you in that way?
It really depends on the human. So if we're talking to somebody and they see, well, nobody likes the legal system. Nobody likes it. It doesn't help anybody, the lawyers and the clients, because everyone feels like the clients feel like they've been cheated, and they have, in a way. They've been cheated of an opportunity to expand their consciousness. So if I'm talking to somebody about that, they say, oh, great idea. But they have to come to me with that knowledge set at the beginning, because most people want to come to a lawyer to blame somebody else for their predicament. And of course, if we come in, we hand over our problem on a plate to a lawyer and say, here, you take it for me. You're not helping yourself at all. You're saying, here, Dad, here, Mum, take it. I can't do it. Where? Just move it through. And that's perpetuating your separation. We're not helping raise consciousness at all. And we're doing the shame, blame, guilt game, and it's in that win-lose model. Whereas when we're doing it this way, it's a win-win. And those people that have been through this system with me, they are so grateful. They end up thanking the other person. Now, whether they even talk to the other person ever again in the situation is irrelevant. It's your own journey. And they'll thank that person for showing up, because you have gotten to a place where your unconscious belief is that ready to be dealt with. It's caused great conflict, great pain. And of course, you've said it before, you like the dark side. Most people don't. They don't want to jump into the dark and feel it, because we are here to experience it all. And until you do, it'll keep coming back and get a little bit bigger, different form. It'll keep going on. And that's why people in the legal system feel like they didn't get anything out of it. They paid a lawyer a lot of money, and they might have got half their property or whatever it was, but they don't feel there was value in that. There's a reason, because they didn't get any value.
This will be difficult for some people that are sort of coming across this idea for the first time, but how long has this process taken you to get to where you are now, to this understanding?
Nearly 10 years. Yeah. It was 2012 when I had this fateful trip over in Main Street, Mornington, and it ended up in 2012, the fabulous year 2012, and found myself in the middle of a pedestrian crossing on my hands and knees in my suit and heels, and it was very embarrassing. And that's what sent me off to a yoga class. My chiropractor said, off you go to yoga for that bruised ego and knees. And I discovered this unbelievable way of being just by basically doing a few breaths and stretches, and the yoga teacher said a few things, and I just thought, wow, what was that? It changed my sort of way of feeling. So then I jumped into doing a diploma in yoga teaching, 12-month course, to discover all this philosophy. And it was where I was, obviously it was my journey. It was where I was meant to go.
Yes, because I think it involves shamanism as well, right?
Yes, it does. It does. Because when I looked at all the yoga in it, and then I discovered there were so many other philosophies. How was I to reconcile it all? And the one that really struck me was shamanism, and Carl Jung then used that in the human shadow, and bringing the unconscious to light. And I felt to myself, wow, I could apply this to everyone I meet. All they have to do is stand and talk to you for a little bit, and they can tell you basically what their shadows are. But they can't see them. They can't see them. It's all in the words. People say it, but they're bringing you the conflict that's saying, oh, please, please find me in here because I'm looking to be found. So we should be so grateful. And everyone that comes through the system with me I say to them, okay, so every time something comes up, we're going to get excited because it's the next challenge. But you have to jump into the dark. You must feel the pain, because you disassociated from that when you were younger. You did not have the opportunity to experience those emotions when you were young, so you could emotionally mature.
Yeah, I think on my beginning part of my journey doing these interviews, it was all a lot of love and light with people, that it was all very positive, but it didn't really, like you say, look at the dark side of the human nature neither. And I think there may be as much light in the dark as there is in the light. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just another way of teaching us, isn't it?
Yeah, because without the darkness, there can be no light, of course. I
Right.
mean,
It's the yin and the yang, isn't it? Yeah. So, okay. And then you had this question come to you many times as well. So let's just go to a basic level then. An abusive relationship. Okay.
yeah.
And I've come to realize that any situation I've put myself in recently, no matter what the other person I think did or didn't do to me, or how much blame I want to put on them, that really it was all my fault, because I put myself in that situation in the first place from the very beginning of the decision of going into that, whichever that is, whatever that could be,
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would never say fault, because this is the thing we're trying to avoid. We're not guilty of anything. We're here to experience. And you are right that we enable. A lot of the people that are calling themselves victims of anything out there right now, there is an enabling factor, and it's just an energy. That's all it is. So you've come through this life and you've been fragmented, and it might be, for example, a beautiful example: boys don't cry and girls don't get angry. They're beautiful rules that we've all been indoctrinated with as we've grown up. And so these two make a perfect couple when they're going to meet later on in life. The girl that doesn't get angry, she doesn't assert herself. She's a nice girl. And she has that rule, but girls are nice. So this girl, I'll take me for an example, because I'm the perfect example. I lived through this myself. And, I might have thrown a toy at my brother's head, and my mother said, you don't do that. Girls don't do that. Girls don't get angry. And so I just soon learn, every time I want to express that anger, you don't. You suppress it. So you disconnect from it. You say anger is no good. You create a rule. Then a boy. Boys don't cry. Boys are tough. Boys stand up for themselves. There's no emotion there, sunshine. You just keep it together. Boys create that rule for themselves. It becomes an unconscious reaction to life. Don't show emotion. Now, of course, I grow up. Boy grows up. I meet this boy that's suppressed his sadness, and I've suppressed my anger. What's he going to show me? He's going to show me anger, because I want to say, I don't like that. I've rejected that. So we're going to fight, because he's going to show me more anger. And I'm going to say it's unacceptable. But guess what? It's not unacceptable. Anger is perfectly acceptable if it's mature. But my anger wasn't allowed to mature. In fact, I said at one point, I'm not an angry person. Well, of course, I like to assimilate to a pencil box. You've got 12 pencils in the box. And when I went to use the red pencil, the pencil of anger, my parents took it out and said, yeah, you're not going to be needing that. They took it off me. So I don't have the full suite of pencils there. I can't colour in my whole life how I want to do it. I'm doing it how they want. I'm not allowed to be angry, which prevents me from asserting myself and then enabling. So I go to meet this guy and then I enable his bad behavior or his appropriate behavior, which is going to show me my anger ultimately. And then that all plays out. In the beginning, I could have said, no, you don't speak to me like that within the first week of our relationship. But no. What I do is I say, oh, no, it'll be fine. I'll fix it. It's beautiful. And then, of course, time goes on, 30 years goes on. That relationship gets more controlling, more abusive, and it's harder. It's like chemistry, basically. You can't separate the molecules anymore. They are bonded. And to pull them apart is painful. But we like to blame each other. Rather than saying, oh, I see what you did there. You helped me find my anger. Because yes, there was anger to be found within me. And until I expressed it and owned it and knew that it was part of me, I couldn't get my red pencil back and put it back in the box and say, whoa, look at me. I'm not unfulfilled anymore. I'm content. I have all my colours. I'm now authentic and I can colour whatever I want in. But we don't see it like that. We just see, oh, we want to blame somebody else for how we feel.
Now, your first marriage, was that abusive at all?
Yes. Yeah, more psychologically. And, you know that. And people say, oh, why don't you leave? Because it's a couple of things. It's the old familiar. Of course, you're used to that. You're looking for the pencil. You know this and you know it's in there. You're going to get it unconsciously. You don't know consciously. And that's the thing. That's why the relationship is there to be looked at as to why is this happening? It's happening for a much higher reason than it appears. So you look at it from that point of view. And the other thing is, yeah, it's the unconscious. We're helping each other. We're helping each other on both ways. For me to also show him where he's showing anger because he can't show emotion. He's not allowed to. So it's a two-way street. So if we pull ourselves out of that situation and say, I see what you did for me there, thank you. Then I can expand and grow. Then I can become my full set. It's like, for example, but you have to go through the pain of doing it. What you have to do is go back and see where you created this rule. You got to find out what's going on. Why did I create a rule that anger was unacceptable? I'm not a whole person unless I can be angry, sad, jealous, rage, all these things, but at a mature, whole level, because you are all that is. You are the other me, I am the other you. That's the way it is. But we don't see that in law. We don't see people as energy and energetically connected. It's just like you're all things and it's a one-way proprietary arrangement rather than this energetic, indissoluble whole.
When that emotionally, let's call it that emotionally abusive relationship that you were going through at the time, if you had walked away and stopped that relationship, that would have been one action to take. Or if you had had more life experience and realized that maybe, did you, or can you look back with life experience now and say, you know what, I wasn't actually in love with that person?
It's a perfect match at all times. You are matched to exactly what you need because I'm putting out this low vibration and I'm resonating with that at some level. I resonate with that. So I will always attract that whilst it's there. That's why if you don't resolve it and you don't find the rule, you don't find that negative energy with you, you will go and repartner again in exactly the same way. It might look different to start with, but it will end up exactly the same. So for example, I did leave that relationship a couple of years prior, but I left it out of fear. Now, this is a very important thing for people to understand when we're doing these things. And this is when I'm helping people before they even leave relationships, if that's what they want to do, is you have to find out for yourself what is going on. So you must look at the rules you've created and say, oh, okay, if I'm making a choice based in fear, then that energy stays with me. And that's what's happening in the legal system presently. So people are running to the lawyer, here I'm running away, and that energy continues with you. But if you stay, and which I did the last time around, and just said, okay, I see what's going on. I have all my pencils back in the box as far as I can see, because you can only see what you can see for yourself. That is a better way to go. Then you understand, okay, I'm not going to repeat that pattern again. So now I'll meet a more suitable partner who is more aligned with my consciousness level now.
I see. And that's the guy that you're working with for Lawyers for Love with?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
We met on that basis, yeah.
Could you have met someone that wasn't on the same consciousness and it could have worked, knowing that you've owned your issues with anger?
I don't think so. From my point of view, I certainly was not in a place where I thought, I think it's just there's been a lot of time and I've done a lot of work on myself. It's not working on yourself. It's just appreciating yourself. It's this constant job. This is what a lot of people do. I'm looking for all the trouble. No, it's nothing to do with that. It's just every time a negative emotion comes up, oh, what's that about? It's being so self-aware that I can see if someone's talking to me, where they're at. And it really has to be someone at the same place. I don't want to play anymore. Don't want to play. Otherwise, you're a nice person. You're a nice person. But yeah, don't spend a lot of time in my space, because I'm quite content with it. And this is the difference. You become very content with who you are. And you don't need, it's like you don't need someone else's power anymore. You don't need to get their red pencil. You got your own. Excellent. And so you're very content. So you need another person that has all their pencils as well to feel that contentment together.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think there's many reasons for, wanting to be with someone, I guess. But from that perspective, it's very different. Okay, I want to move away from this, but this is important because it's all based on relationships, the kind of work that you do. Going back to when you first met that person in that first relationship, could you go back and think, well, actually, I've, like I said before, only got myself to blame for everything that occurred from the moment I said yes to getting in a relationship with that person, right? To the final few arguments or every argument that took place or whatever chaos it was, right? Had you known yourself more from that perspective you're talking about, your alarm bells would have gone off in the first place. There would have been signs there that you would have recognized.
That's right. You wouldn't have seen that as an attractive option. You see, because if you're resonating on the same frequency of a low consciousness, at some level in you, you're resonating together. So that's attractive.
But from fear, when it's a fear-based choice,
that's
yes.
right. Yeah, it's like a tuning fork. It could tune at any frequency. And most people on the planet have got low frequencies somewhere on the fragments in the rules. So you will attract somebody at that level, because it's your work. That's how you're going to find the missing parts. And it's poetry. It's magic.
So you could say it that way. Then the more emotionally mature you are, then the more, I guess you could turn that into the more you wouldn't need the rules, but the more you would be in alignment with going in a direction that's the right direction for it. And that's not saying that there's not conflicts in your relationship now. There's not testing moments. No one's saying that. I don't think, are we? We're saying that it's how you deal with it.
It's always your reaction to life. Your reaction to life is your life experience. Full stop. So even if, I think you're deluded if you think you're going to be in perfect harmony with everything and everybody every day, because otherwise I don't think you'd be on the planet. So it is always how you're seeing your life and how you're reacting to it. And if you can react from an opportunity of, wow, why did I feel like that? Rather than why did you speak to me like that? It's got nothing to do with them. You could say anything to me right now. You could call me the worst person on the planet. You could try and kill me. It doesn't matter. It's my reaction to what you're doing is what matters to me and how I experience this life. Because people talk about karma. I love this. I just love this. People talk about karma. And all I say about that is karma is your reaction to life. If I see you as bad and everything as bad, then that is how I experience life. So I am experiencing the bad thing I see. If I see it as good, then I'm experiencing it as good. It's as simple as that. It's your reaction to it. Your choice, how you react, your choice. But some of us, our choices are limited because as we're growing up, the rules have been created for us. So I can only make a choice based on what my parents told me to do. Don't cry, don't get angry. So I can't make that choice. So the pencils were taken out, the choices were taken away.
It could be opposite. They may have been mum reacted very, screamed at dad, shouted at him, called him all the names, and you've taken that energy on. It could be the opposite. Yeah.
Yeah, we all react differently, and that's absolutely vital for everyone to know. It's not an absolute formula. We all have an archetype and we'll react in different ways. But all you need to know is, why am I reacting? Why do I have a negative emotion or a negative response to something? If I do ever have a negative response to something, it's because I'm carrying a rule. It's our own work.
And the rule for reacting just as abusively as someone is towards you is, maybe you like it, the conflict.
Maybe you do. Maybe it energizes you momentarily, but you see, it's still a negative energy. It's like what I say, you'll go and eat a block of chocolate. The chocolate tastes great. It's giving you some relief from whatever. We humans started out in love. We're fragmented. And we're fragmented. We lost all our pencils. We're picking up the pencils on the way back to finding our whole set of love again. So we're always making choices to find love. So it might be, I'm feeling rotten now. Instead of discovering why I'm feeling rotten, I might just go to the cupboard and get the block of chocolate. Now, 3 squares might have satisfied me, but no, I polish off the whole block and I'm feeling fantastic while I'm doing it. But then probably an hour later, I'm feeling full, awful, guilty, ashamed of myself. I should know better. I'm beating myself up. That is practically every bit of human behavior, but on different levels. Some people will kill somebody else instead of reach for the block of chocolate because they feel better for that moment. In that moment, they'll get some relief from whatever it is, whatever conflict internally they're running.
So when you see it from the perspective that the other person felt better for doing that action, you've said before, I think that's helped you to see why they did it, because it made them feel better.
You have compassion. Yeah. And people get confused. Yeah. People get confused because they think, you said that was okay to do that. No, that's not what was said. What we're saying is, you have compassion. You can see why the other person did it. It's perhaps not appropriate behavior for a peaceful society, but let someone have a look at why you did it. And this is why we have criminals in jail, for example. People say, you did a bad thing, let's lock you away. Well, that's not helpful. But all we're doing is rejecting an aspect of ourselves. We're saying that is bad. It's a judgment call. Based on what? Everything is okay. Everything is okay. But you have to see the motivation behind why. So we look at the person, why did you kill someone? Might have been for protection, might have been, because you hurt me, you made me feel hurt, and to kill you makes me feel better. Now, I'm not saying the action of killing is ideal. That's not the ideal outcome. But we need to look at why that person did it. They did it because they felt better in the doing of it. Now, if we had gotten to them first and said, you're running some rules here, let's find out what they are first. It's saying you're bad or that person can't do that to you. If we sat and saw everyone can do anything they like, and of course, I'm using the worst example, killing somebody, but if we want to take it to the absolute level, then if we look at it from that point of view, then we can have some compassion for why people are doing things first.
Okay, and it could be for money as well. They
Anything.
have what I want, but it's your loved one that's had their life cut short, and what other solution is there but to put them away from society and then maybe apply what you're saying there to get them into a program where it can be looked at a deeper level as to what really was their motive for doing it. But if they can't feel any compassion for what they've done and they can't see too clearly what they've done wrong, and also on top of that, us as the victim, maybe one of our family members or ourselves, we want them to suffer at least, or to have something taken away from them for what they've done. That's how we're taught the law system is. Do you know what I mean? But
Mm.
are we ready to? It could be 30 years ago a murder, just saying, and the person who's lost their family member still hasn't forgiven that person, still sees that person as a threat to society because deep down they're going to do it again in some other way.
There's a couple of things there. Firstly, the person would be releasing themselves from the situation, releasing the negative energy for themselves if they A, could forgive, and then B, have compassion. Why had anyone asked them at a genuine level, why did that person do what they did? They want to shun them at first, blame. Because you represent everything that's wrong with me, my life, society. So that's good. I can blame you. I'm elevating myself. So forgiveness is very difficult for people to say. That's why I say compassion. Let's understand them first. Now, ideally, yes, I always get asked this question because it is one of the most striking questions ever. Now, from a metaphysical point of view, everything is perfect. Everything's happening because it should, and it's your life experience. Now, if you hang on to that, you are basically, you'll put yourself in a position where you're never going to enjoy life ever again if you are carrying that victim mentality, and you'll keep attracting that energy to you. You as a person, if you're feeling victimized and angry toward that person, you need to ask yourself first, stop, just pull that person out of the equation for a moment. Why am I feeling this way? I need to blame someone for something. They're ideal, of course. I'll focus on them and the negative energy. They hurt me. No, nobody can hurt you. It's your choice how you feel. So you'd have to take it back to a point in time for you. No, I'm not even talking about the person in jail. For you, where did you get this belief that you're a victim? This is much of society right now, let me tell you. And it's crazy to me, all these people still, and society, groups are walking around as the victims of the world. What do they want? Do they want to kill off everybody else because they've been victimized by some other group of members of society? I don't understand it. That's not the solution. The solution is coming back to self. Why do I think I'm a victim? What would I have to believe about me to be true for this situation to arise?
Yeah, but I mean, some of these serial killers that have bloody diced and sliced their bloody victims up into pieces. I mean, how are you going to feel if that was your relative that had gone through that? I mean,
Oh, that's not a good feeling. I'm not, and we're not saying that that's good. That's not saying
but
that's a good action
what do you
at
do?
all.
What do you do with Ted Bundy then? Someone like him? What I mean,
Well, I'm not a psychologist in that point of view, and I don't think everybody's going to. This is for the majority of society. If so, you lock Ted Bundy up or whatever it happens, and then you've got a jail with a person in there. That's fine. Do that. We've got choices in society. Or we look at the cases and say, okay, why did you do it, Ted? But look deeper into Ted. Now, Ted might be so broken that we'll never fix Ted. And we're not fixing Ted, by the way. Ted's healing Ted's self. But this is Ted's journey for some reason. This is Ted's journey. Did anyone look at Ted's journey? Why did he get to be like that? And we all see, we're beaten up as children, all these things. We've all lived it. I lived it too. So we've all lived these horrific stories. Some people play them out in different ways. And we can't have the experience, and it's going back to having experiences. We can't have the experience of being a victim without a perpetrator. Now, I know people might say, oh, that's just terrible. But when we see that that's how humanity is working, then when we take our role out of it, it's all going to dissolve over time.
don't you think some people, if you let them out, or if they're not away from society, that they're just going to keep doing it and keep doing it? And had you had locked them away, because you're not able to change them at their deepest level because they're insane, that you would have saved the lives of many other people who didn't need to be a victim.
That may be the case. Again, I say everything's perfect. So from that person's point of view, they may have had. I'd like to say that there aren't that many people in our society that would fall into that category. Number one. Most of us are dealing with relationship. We're struggling anyway, and it is a big deal to us in our relationship. Some of us would probably like to be dead, and some of us choose to because it's just too hard. So those people could have attracted that in for themselves anyway. So we need a lot of people won't like what I say, but I just say it, I call it as it is, because Ted's there to do Ted's job. And if you're attracting Ted in, you've got some things there too that attracted that in for you. I know that sounds weird, but that's energy, people. That is what energy is. This is why you work on yourself. If you find the negative energies you're carrying, you're less likely to attract in negativity, full stop. Then you work with, if you can work with the people, instead of putting them in jail saying, I'm rejecting you, which is effectively rejecting a part of yourself. Let's work with you too. Now, you're not going, it's probably not possible to work with all those people and do that, but I think it's a great turnaround. I think more, and this is, I think, where we're getting back to the legal system and the systems that we're in. Most of the prison systems are working from a place of profit. They're not really carrying on rehabilitation. And most of the people that are going back to the prisons are doing it from recidivism because they know this is the familiar. I feel comfortable here. I'm protected. Mum and dad have got me a house. I'm back home in my bedroom. They told me to go to my room. I'm back there. They're playing a pattern.
Not just that as well, is that you do a long stretch in there, say 10 years, and that can last a lot longer sometimes because you cannot get back through parole because of the things that you've committed within prison. Whether you've joined a gang, whether you've slashed this or that person's bloody neck, or you were involved in a riot, or you're sneaking substances in which it shouldn't be, you get into a whole different culture of society in the long-term prisons. And they stay in for a lot longer than what their initial sentence was.
There's a lot of negative energy in there.
But then the parole board's there to stop people who are not ready to not go back into society.
Yeah, they still let them out though. You know, none of that is perfect. It's just looked at from my point of view, we're not looking at it from the most optimal place. What we have right now isn't working. People still kill people, irrespective of what the laws are. And this is what we're saying too, is that the laws, they say, oh, the law's there to protect you and give you certainty. None of that is true. Rule breakers break rules. People still murder. Everybody breaks the law. Everybody breaks rules all the time. So the system, from that point of view, and they keep putting more rules around it.
Well, you do say what my consciousness is saying is more powerful than the role of the law or what the law says. So,
Yeah.
The
unconscious rule,
is
far more powerful. That rule that you created, and this is even in the most decent, let me put that in quotation, members of society. We have judges doing things, terrible things, and they should know better. There's no such thing as should either. That's another rule. But they're crying out for, let me find the rule that I'm carrying, because they're feeling discontent as well. There's not many people on this planet that are content and very happy with their lot. And there's a reason for it. You're looking externally for the wrong reasons. You're not looking for the pencils. You're looking for things and pleasures to make you happy. And well, they're fun too. There's nothing wrong with any of that. Nothing wrong at all. But for the wrong reasons. The unconscious rules are found in our conflicts, in the naughty things we do. That's where they're found. Why do you want to kill someone? You've got power over them. I mean, because you felt powerless, because they took your power away as a kid. Yeah, we all play it out differently. We all are playing a different game and we play it differently.
So give us a quick scenario then of your type of courtroom. Okay, so a group of lads have got together. They've raped a woman, young lady, whatever it may be, right? Whoever it may be, and how would your court case go for that?
Well, the funny thing is, it wouldn't be a court case, for example, because there's no judgment anymore. in this ideal utopian idea. Now, of course, that's just utopian right at this moment, but transitionally, I like to look at it the way shamans would, and that you get elders around to say, what is within us, elders, as representatives of this community, that's reflected in you? Because we are all responsible for everybody's actions. And by that, it means that I must have negative energies within me too, to allow that to resonate in my society. So I need to work on myself first, always working on self, raising my consciousness.
Right, but then those people that have committed that act, how is that raising their consciousness?
Because we are all one. If we are in that, and of course you take them away and you ask, well, why did it happen? Number one, why? Not many people ask why. What would they do? What happens now is that the victim is pulled aside and treasured. The victim. Yes, she is feeling pretty ordinary. But let me tell you, she's attracted it in. Gosh, so be it. That's the bottom line. These perpetrators, and I like to call them experiences because they're all just experiences. Now, we might have one ringleader that wants to be powerful and the others are so weak in their power that they draw off that person's power. As we know, gangs get together and they can't stand in their own power. They're not able to. So we've got to say, why can't you stand in your power? Why can't you feel content with who you are? You need to be with this idea. Now, that's a pretty heavy example, but they're the foundations of it. Each person needs to ask themselves a question: where is my power? And for the girl in the example as well, how did I look that attractive from a negative point of view? Why did I feel like a victim? Why am I giving out victim energy?
Yeah, but you ask a lot of survivors of situations or whatever it may be that they've gone through, they wouldn't feel like that, would they? They would feel like they were innocently in the wrong place at the wrong time.
They may do. That beautiful. This is why I'm saying it's just time to change that. You can keep that idea going, no problem. That's so third dimension. Keep it going. You're perpetuating separation. We're upholding the victim. We've said it in courtrooms. The perpetrators are standing there, perpetrators, I'm using those words as illustration only, but they're standing in a courtroom. Nobody came to their assistance. They were crying out for help too. Someone might, I know this, I don't know why people go to rape and murder as the ideal scenarios, because some people can be so hurt by words and it can crush them. They can kill themselves over it. And so they're all the same. It's all the same. It's just they play out differently. And so it's an alternate platform. It's an alternate way of, let's take our society forward from a different point of view. We are not resolving anything. I think we can see this in politics now. And what I've seen in politics recently is like, oh, thank goodness that's all over. But everyone was hating on situations. I'm thinking, you didn't leave the situation with any love energy in that at all. Of like, wow, we see what happened there. How good was that for us? What we don't prefer and what we do prefer from a really loving place. It was just like, and I feel that will just keep flowing back and people will keep meeting it until they actually see it for what it is. It is energy.
Because some people would look at those people that have committed those crimes as just evil. They're evil.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But can't we all be a little bit evil? And that's what they're not accepting. This is the whole thing. You're not accepting that you're the whole set of pencils, the black one included. There is some evil in you. Accept it. Because if you don't, it will reflect back at you, because you've essentially blocked the flow through your evil. You haven't matured it. And, evil is in, you can do something sneaky or whatever. Everyone's guilty of doing a little something, and it's perfectly within their range of human capabilities to do all these things. It's just whether you've matured it properly and you're a whole, stable human, because you can be both the dark and the light. You have both polarities. And if you cannot accept that, then unfortunately, you're not balanced. And you will seek things out that will try to balance you. They will come at you.
But surely that guy, using guys here just a general term, but that guy has or could respond back to being asked, why did you do what you did? What's at the deeper core of that? And they may not even understand or be able to come to that space because they are just at a different spiritual level to where you are. They're not able to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That you are so right about that. But the person that's been on the receiving end, they had that energy as well.
Yes, but then
So
how do you heal that person in a sort of shamanic way that
the only way what you can do is people make choices as to whether they want to heal themselves or not. At the end of the day,
if they don't, what would you do
they
then?
don't. They just don't. What you do is you raise your own vibration. Well, I guess that's perhaps an alternative in this day and age. That's what you can do. But you also go in with the view that, okay, I see you, I have compassion for you. This is it coming from a loving place rather than the rejection point of view. So you're coming in from a loving place saying, I see you, we've done everything we can to help you, but we can't have that running around in society. It's like, well, I don't want to sit in a tub of snakes, frankly, and have them bite me. I don't want that. So it's just a preference that I'd prefer to do it this way. But our system has a very negative approach to things, that you are bad and I am good. Bad and good is just subjective. So we can't have the dichotomy anymore.
Have you been tested out by lawyers of love? Have you come into a situation where you've applied your own teaching in a way recently?
Oh, yes. Yes, well, yeah, absolutely. This is what we do. This is absolutely what we do.
I mean, for
And
what you're
people,
going through, that. Sorry, don't interrupt. I mean, for issues that you've
yeah,
had with
yeah.
people. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, look, I'm always, in every moment, this is how I live my life. If I'm feeling negative about something, it's what's going on with me. It's just a constant job. It's not a job, it's actually a pleasure. It's like a fun game. I see this as an absolute game. Yeah, I know there's many out there that'll just think it's disrespectful, but you can call me that I'm disrespectful. You call me whatever you want. I don't react to that because I know exactly who I am. And if you're calling somebody that, you need to look at who you are. That's the way it is. So I'm more than content with myself and what I say. Now, yeah, you offer me points of view and I'll say, that sounds interesting. How would I work with that? Because we haven't looked at our lives or our humanity in this way at all. It has been ancient, but then we've gone through all this intelligence. We're smart. We've built these rules and laws around everything, but they're not working. They're not working. People will get out, like you said, on parole, and they'll kill somebody again. That didn't stop them. And the parole board didn't get it right. We didn't help the person at all. In fact, probably sometimes, as I say, it's recidivism. They're carrying the pattern still. They feel comfortable with the old familiar. I want to go back into my room, like Mum said, and put me back inside. I know how to deal with my power there.
Yeah. And thank you for what you've said there so far. Just going back to marriages, it's like that old contract, isn't it? And you do sign a contract when you're married. Do you know what I mean? I shall live with you
Till death do us part.
Yeah. I shall live with you to the end of my days. But God
Yeah.
forbid if it's not working between us and we just have to live in absolute agony because one of us or both of us are growing in different ways, that we both want different things, or one wants something different, but you can't leave. It's called abandonment.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. That is called abandonment for some people. That it all plays out differently for certain people in certain ways. So, because some people can separate their marriages quite calmly and comfortably, and wow, that was an interesting experience. I'm going over here, and they can still stay friends. But for some, no, because the issues are bigger. And when you can, look, I had this beautiful client one time, and she came into me over a few years, and fortunately for her, she was the one with the money and the power, and if you like, she was able to make the choices, but she couldn't sign the papers. It was amicable in a certain way, and she just couldn't sign the papers to let it go. And then one year, it was 4 years later, she came in every year. This one year she came in and she sat down in front of me. Now, I'll tell you, this lady, she was so proper and stoic. There was no emotion. But this one day she comes in and I said, how are you? And she burst into tears. She said, I had a car accident. It's the second one, in a couple of weeks. And it It wasn't bad or anything. And I thought, fantastic. She's just shown some emotion because she has been keeping that emotion at bay. She's hidden it away. I don't want to feel any of this. This is awful. When I took her through a very short process, we found out that she had abandonment and she couldn't feel sadness because big girls don't cry. You'll be fine. Grow up, suck it up, princess. Left her in boarding school. And it was simply that. And I said, guess what? Your emotional response as a child to be sad was true and correct and valid. So she took it back to where she found the rule that if I'm abandoned, I'm going to be sad. It's terrible. I can't let this go. And then she was able to sign the papers and move on. And she's thanked me so much for that. And it's just so simple, but it was such a big sticking point in her life. It held years of her life just there for just a tiny, which we think is a tiny thing, but it was massive for her. And that's just a very basic principle of how it works. Now, for some people, there are a lot of rules and a lot of complex things that have happened, but they're playing out a different story.
What about then restraining orders in the sense of, the other one that they're getting it against isn't able to see any boundaries or whatever you want to call it, rules, right? I mean, aren't some things there for our own safety?
Well, how many people have broken restraining orders?
Well, a lot. Yeah. If I was going to say that, if it's if it's a restraining order that's used for a genuine purpose and not one that's been vindictive against someone, of course.
Look, let me tell you that most people, if you said, if you come around here, I'm going to call the police, they'll stay away. But if you're going to get a restraining order against somebody, in general terms, and yeah, some of them are vindictive for manipulative purposes. So some people are playing the manipulation game. Simple as that. And I say a lot more of that than necessary. The people that are genuinely in need of a restraining order, that person will breach the order. I can probably guarantee it. So the restraining order means nothing because I wasn't able to put up a boundary between me and you at the start. I've got to learn to do it. Now, it may cost me my life. It may. But that's how far I got into it before I realized. And that's just the game I was playing. So it's so different for everybody. So yes, you have the manipulators playing. You have the people that are genuine. They didn't need the order for a start. So it was just a bit of fluff for, oh yeah, he's scaring me. It is. And it horrifies me that as one court, I remember one court saying, yeah, they hand out restraining orders like lollies. But they don't have the time, you see, because the system is just not working for what on earth do you need that for? Let's get the two of you together and find out what rules you're carrying to even want this nonsense. Let's do it differently, completely differently. Wipe that system out. Of course, you can't do it immediately, but let's all start from a different approach if we can and work with what we've got to change it slowly over time.
But then it might be a psychopath. That's a real, genuine psychopath. It could be. That's got to be, they would be needed or something along those lines would be needed for someone in your society for that issue. No? Yes?
What do you mean?
Okay.
Needed.
So if someone's a genuine psychopath, there's no getting around them with the way that you're putting these ideas across of how to deal.
Like I said, yeah, that's the minority.
I know, but just to keep people to know they've got some protection there. Do you know what I
mean? They don't. This is people don't have protection. You attract in what you're going to attract into your life. As I said, the person with harsh words can make you want to feel suicidal. Is that a different to a psychopath? I don't know. I don't think so. Some of our mothers are psychopaths. They just do it in a kind of way that looks smiling on the outside, but you want to kill yourself. So this is just a horrific picture, like the giant spider in my bedroom, that people like to play out. Let's look at it that it's all the same.
Okay, well, let's just go to emotional abuse then. So if someone is being emotionally abusive, which is a bit tamer than some of the subjects we're talking about, right? And much more common.
All the same.
And more common, right?
Yeah.
You're saying that person who's being emotionally abusive to me, there's issues within me that I've not dealt with that are why I'm feeling so upset and torn by it. Or
Mm.
are you also saying that if you took responsibility, that you put yourself in a proximity of a person like that or in a relationship like that in the first place because you made a decision somewhere along the line out of fear, and if you traced it back, I bet you could, right? That you wouldn't even be in it in the first place. So if you just took acceptance even for that decision, then it's all your fault in a non-judgmental way.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I don't like to say the word fault or blame or guilt for anybody ever, because it's not. It's just the game we're playing. We are attracted to the person we're attracted to because of the energies. We match. Simple. Now, yes, the emotional abuse is no different to the psychopath that's out there with a knife. Just some people are using the pen instead of the actual knife. No different. Yeah. Yeah, no different. So it's me, take responsibility. I like it to say it like this. I like to look at my ability to respond. So how am I responding to this? Am I drawn in every time that person says something nasty to me? Am I drawn in? Yeah. If I am drawn in, then that's, whoa, why am I doing that? And that's perfect. It's like the trigger. Yes, thank you. All right, what have I got to look at within myself that's drawing me into this? I created a rule somewhere where if you say, I'm stupid, for example, that's a classic one for lawyers, because lawyers try and be so smart and they've got all the certificates and stuff. Call me stupid, and then that'll trigger me. Like, no, I've got a degree in this and a PhD and what have you. Probably because, and then someone will say it to me, and then maybe I'll get triggered by that. And that's painful, so painful. But where did I create the rule?
School.
Oh, once upon a time, I was, school, anywhere, the tribe. I call them the tribe. Your parents, aunties, uncles, parents. You could have done better on that test. Your sister did great, but you did terribly. What's wrong with you? Instead of, they took away my yellow pencil, and now I've got to be this smart person. Hang on, I was a creative. I was going to bake cake, But no, I've got to go down there. I've got to be a lawyer, and I've got to do that.
We're always getting triggered by stuff like that in some cases where none of it really mattered in the first place. None of it was true. We're just getting triggered by untruths, because we're trying to protect our character when it doesn't need protecting.
The most beautiful part is you did good. You let them take your pencil because they have the power. So you kept yourself safe in that environment with your parents. You didn't argue with them. You just did what you were told. You're going to be clothed, fed, loved. That's what you did. You did good. And when we go back to that place and say, hang on a minute, they told me my sister was smarter than me and that I was stupid. Hang on a minute. No, I was actually smart because I could do this and that. And when you go back in time and validate yourself then and say, and I was also smart because I followed their rules to keep myself safe. But when you're an adult, you can go out into the world and drop those rules. You don't need those rules anymore. I actually can go be a baker if I want. And that's cool. And I'm authentic and I'm doing what my passion is, and I'm in love with me again. But these are the beautiful fragments.
So basically, with all this that you're putting together with lawyers from love, am I getting that right?
Lawyers for Love, yeah.
Lawyers for Love, sorry. Really, we don't need a lawyer if we were going down this road.
That's right.
Yeah, but obviously
you will for the time being.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But obviously, I mean, they all saying, isn't it? Oh, the only one that ever won in any of my cases was the lawyer. He was the one that got paid, even though they may have got what they think they wanted at the time, like half the house, whatever it was, whatever. It could be a business. It could be a business. Yeah. But then again, if it was a business disagreement, as in, they took my idea or my patent, right? Then you have one, because maybe in the court case you did win and you got everything off that other company and you made money from what you did by going to another company to sell the idea to. So you actually won one all the way across there. So the lawyer and the law was great.
Maybe, but why did you get into the conflict in the first place?
Yeah, but they're not going to ask.
Why does someone take so? Why do? Yeah, they're not. But you'll play it out again. Why? This is what it's really important for.
Oh, it's going to play out again in a different scenario.
Yeah, it will. Like, why did I allow someone to take from me, or why did they steal from me, or whatever it is? It doesn't matter. It's all rules that you're running. You're in a conflict that reflects the internal conflict that's going on.
But who was the one that made that 1.5 million? Ching ching, I did. See you later. Do you know what I mean? It might be like
yeah. maybe now, maybe later. You'll just see. You'll just see what happens
Or
because we're running the pattern.
the pattern's repeating in my personal life now. Shit, he got the 1.5 million back in a different way. Do you know what I mean? Like it got taken
That's
from
right.
one, and it got given to someone else. You know,
If we look back at our lives honestly, we can see how these things have played for us. We can see them when we see the unconscious. But a lot of people are asleep. They're not awake at all. They're not awake to who they are. They're sitting there asleep and just going through their lives and blaming everybody for their misery. And if COVID taught us anything, it was to sit inside and start feeling some pain. Start feeling it. Because that's where it's at. Start
put
feeling,
that
because
24-hour news cycle on. Come on.
yeah, that's right.
Death
Exactly.
toll today is this. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And the truth, what's the truth? The truth, this is the thing I'm also saying, is the truth is yours only. That is what is true.
Look. I mean, I feel sorry for anyone that's lost their life through anything like a pandemic or anything that happens out there. Of course, I have sympathy. Of course, I do. What we're saying here is, obviously, like you say, where are you going to shine from getting out of a low level of being depressed or upset or constantly in that dark place? It's difficult, isn't it? But I guess, like someone said to me not too long ago, is everything okay right now in this moment? Yes.
Yeah.
Was it okay yesterday or a few weeks ago? No. Is it going to be okay in the future? That scares me. But is everything okay right now? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, let's maybe stay here.
And it's how you play the game. How do you want to play? Your choice. You can play in the dark zone. Stay there. That's fine. I'm not wanting to change you for anything, but thinking, well, there's a lot of people that want answers to life. And there are some. Just shift how you're looking at it. Look at everything as a catalyst, as an opportunity.
Yes. It's very interesting. And how much resistance have you found to your idea? Or maybe...
Well, yeah, love is not a favorite word amongst the law. However, that said, I have lawyers that have connected in with Lawyers for Love, because it's a network. It's just a network of people that want to do things a little bit differently. They're just sick and tired of the way it is. They're depressed. They're suicidal. Lawyers are, and people go boo-hoo, but it's really just a day job. There's only a very few lawyers, like the psychopaths that are killing people out there. There's only a very few lawyers that are at the top of the game and driving the Porsche and doing all that. Most of them are just process
can
workers.
I just say, I just don't know how some of these lawyers would or could represent the murderer in a sense, and in their head think, yes, of course, you're innocent. I believe your story. They can't believe it, surely, but it's what you have to. If you're the defense lawyer, then your client is as innocent as the person that's been murdered.
It's again perspective, isn't it? It's just say my client's right. We are told to go and defend to the best of our abilities. So we're looking for the points of view that will support our defense, rather than looking for the truth. We're not looking for the truth. The truth of the matter is, I did this because. That's the truth, because I saw life like this. That's the truth. If we can come in from that point of view, we're helping everybody see truth.
Do you think most people that have gone through a process of doing something that's quite difficult for most people to want to look at, that actually a lot of it stems from the goddamn childhood?
It all does. And I think it's the perfect game. And I love the idea that this is a game we're playing, because we're born into here perfect. We're fragmented. Our parents, our tribe fragmented us. And we don't blame them. There's no blame. Again, no blame. This is the game, so that you can expand. And it is this is what I liken it to. It's like you've got your phone. Now, I don't know if you use an Apple phone, but I do. And so you've gotten used to the system, and then they go and give you an upgrade. There's a new operating system. It's like, oh my God, they've changed all the buttons, and this is painful for me. But to expand and keep moving with life and keep flowing, I have to learn the new system. If I was just to avoid it, eventually I'd be clocked out of the system and I wouldn't be able to connect with anybody. And that's what's happening to people. They're not upgrading. They're not moving into the pain of discovering, okay, I've got to learn a new system here. When you become an adult, learn a new system of learning myself, and then moving with the flow. Instead, they're disconnecting completely, and they're asleep. These people are asleep, and they're staying in that that realm. And my belief system is this planet, after these events of recent times, is shifting dimensions, basically. And what I'm saying is going to happen, whether you like it or not. The systems are coming down. These systems are crumbling. We are offering an alternate platform. And it might be a transitional period of 10, 20 years, I don't know, but this is what's happening.
So if the court documentation or the lawyer documentation had the word love somewhere in there, which it can and never has done, well, it can do, I suppose, but it never has. I wonder what that would do.
Well, the idea is the court, if there was still a court, would look at the word love and try and determine its meaning. And boy, would that be a day of reckoning for me. I'd be like, yes, love was discussed in a court. It has a meaning, it has an energy, because even by putting, and this is what I encourage people to do, is get their lawyers to put love as of the essence into their wills, into their contracts, because every time we infuse a little bit more love into a document, we're raising the vibration of the planet. Not hard. It's a sneaky way of getting in under the system.
Do you think that the level of souls coming into this planet have a big majority of them want change now? So some of the things we're seeing as normal practices will dissolve in the end. But then again, do we want a planet where we're all walking around like a Jesus figure and not having these external conflicts? Because it's the conflicts is what the soul's dying for.
We're dying for that. The two questions there. I believe, yes, the younger people coming through are more conscious. And I can see that in the legal system presently, because I have a lot of young women, particularly in law, that say they can't stand it, the hierarchy, the patriarchy. It's just so yesterday. Law hasn't changed in its practices for eons. And so the system's crumbling because they're moving out. They want more authenticity. They want to actually help people now and know people. Lawyers don't know people. So that's number one. And I believe, the new souls coming to the planet, the children, they're going to embody this more than anything. But what it's going to do is something different. We're going to live a different kind of a life. It's going to be creative, and the challenges will be coming in creation, because we're all being more authentic. Doesn't mean we're going to agree and dance around in la unicorns and sparkle dust, although that might happen because I rather like a good unicorn. But just changing up the way we're dealing with our lives on the planet to more, different challenges, like, how do we build a community this way? And we've still got personalities. We still all like different things. We're not going to still be lemmings in boxes and all the same. I don't believe. I don't think that's the way it is at all, because I'm amongst some very conscious people who have points of view. But the most magnificent way is that you can argue your point with these people from such a conscious place, and it's so rewarding. It's such a rewarding thing to do. It's just a different way.
All right. And now your website's been coming up on the screen all throughout this interview, but your website is?
www.lawyersforlove.love. Just to put a bit more love on the planet.
No, it's great. And I will be very interested to see how you grow and what you do from this, because it's interesting that you're putting yourself out internationally, because obviously you're based in Australia, and I said that in the intro. Actually, I didn't say it elsewhere in the interview, but you're getting feedback from lawyers all over the world, aren't you?
I have lawyers joined in with this idea all over the world, because love really, or love is a state of being without fear. And people don't want to be fearful anymore. We want to move forward together as unity, and borders are really just still separating us. This is global. As you say, it's non-jurisdictional. This is just different. It's just a different platform.
Yeah, and how important the law is, because the law is everywhere. Everything's based on law in a particular country. So, well, Virginia, I just want to say thank you, and until next time, carry on what you're doing, and I will get you back on in the future.
Thanks so much, Kevin. It's been an absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed myself.